Ladies and gentlemen, the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam tournament being held in Las Vegas has now concluded. It is done, nada, over. We have a champion, okay? Today I'm going to be showing you games from Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura, who are playing for third place. And of course the final between Hans Niemann and Levon Aronian. Now, no more beating around the bush. If you don't know about freestyle chess, you're going to have to go elsewhere because we're jumping straight into these games. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy. Let's jump straight into Magnus versus Hikaru. Okay, so this is the position that Magnus and Hikaru had to play with. It's very, very weird looking. I mean, the king is still in the centre of the board, just on the queen square. The two knights are next to each other, which always makes for imbalances and complications in the centre of the board. And we still have our rooks on the flanks that just want to fly up the board. So that's pretty normal. Game starts with Hikaru Nakamura playing the move d4. Bear in mind, these two just drew a game, so whoever wins this game is third place, okay? So this is very crucial. They just drew. They've got it all to play for this game. So d4 and the move c5. This almost looks like some sort of Scandinavian, just like with the pawns moved over to the left a square. So Hikaru obviously picks up the pawn, and instead of capturing back, Magnus Carlsen invents a gambit of a position in which he has never played before. What? how does he always do this like crazy stuff? Like, only he could gambit a pawn in freestyle chess, but fine, whatever. So he brings out the knight to attack it like a modern Scandinavian. And here there were some very strange ideas being spoken about on commentary. I mean, the move b4 was discussed, which to me just looks wild because of the move a5. And like, this is how you'd have to cling on. Because like after takes and takes, it just looks so uncomfortable. Like even then, like bishop e5, like you're just developing your piece. Like it just looks awful. So Hikaru actually plays this move f3, opening up his dark square bishop to defend the pawn. That's not a very good drawn arrow by me. But Magnus just goes ahead and takes, because if you do take back now with Hikaru, there is now just an unchallenged queen in the centre of the board. And after knight d3, I mean, you just drop back here and you set up this insane back tree. It looks very, very unpleasant. So Hikaru doesn't in fact take back, and instead he just plays this move e4. I mean, it's just opening up the dark square bishop and clamping down on the centre. So out the opening, like 4 moves, Hikaru looks very happy. Magnus responds with f6, opening up his light square bishop. We get queen to d2, which is a very interesting idea. You'll see why in a few moves' time, but the move c4 is actually really important here to stop like this advancement that Magnus is going to make on this queen side of the board in a minute. Yeah, this move c4 super important. But Hikaru opts to put his queen in front of his king. Magnus jumps a knight forwards. We get knight to e3. And then the move b5. And this is where things start to get a little bit scary early on for Hikaru. I mean, there's nothing to worry about. Hikaru, the best defensive player, maybe of all time. Like, that's crazy to say, but some of the positions he hangs on in is just insane, even against Magnus. So nothing to worry about just yet. Knight jumps forward to d3. Knight jumps to a4, which looks kind of insane, but with this queen on the open c5, it actually meshes really well with this knight on a4, because let's say you play a move like b3 looking to kick the knight away. Well, the knight can just jump into c3 with check, and now you can't castle if you are Hikaru. Your king has to move probably to c1. I mean, it just looks so uncomfortable. And, like, how are you getting rid of this knight? Like, if you jump this knight into the centre... let me just make a random move with black. If you jump this knight into the centre... well, then the knight can just take, you take, and then bishop will take. So it's like, you're just in no man's land here. So when the knight jumps over, we get the move bishop to f2. Maybe looking to castle... short castle, I guess it is, technically. But even though it's a long castle, it's... Freestyle chess confusing, man. We get a5 from Magnus, just continuing his pursuit down on towards this queen's side, which is king's side. c3 is played by Hikaru, just, you know, any defensive maneuver he can find now, he has to pull off. Knight jumps into c4, pairing with this other knight, and it's like, how the hell is this position even being held onto? It has just started hammering it down outside. You know, rain on your window. Some people hate it. That will send me to sleep. Oh my god. I might fall asleep recording, but that's okay. Queen goes to c2. We get queen c7. Also, if you can hear that rain, I am sorry. we got a very low budget setup here. I mean, I currently have an Easter egg holding up my phone, which is my camera, so do with that what you will. We get knight takes on c4. Bishop takes back, not the pawn, because you don't want to split these two pawns. I mean, as a duo, they are very, very strong. Singularly, they're not really doing a whole lot. I mean, especially because it would also just bye-bye knight and takes and then takes. It's just very unpleasant. So don't split your pawns. Take back with the bishop, putting pressure on this knight. Queen now steps back in front of the king. Rook goes to a6, bishop to c2, attacks the knight, rook over to d6. I mean, look how scary this looks. Like, if this was anyone but Hikaru, you'd think, okay, the game is already over. Like, it's done. Like, why are they even still playing on? But because it's Hikaru, you just think, okay, there's always a chance here that Hikaru is going to pull something out the bag. Hikaru castles into this chaos. I mean, I wonder what the engine would have made of this. Absolute horror show, because you can just take, obviously, and these trades are really quite awful for white. Okay, never mind. So long castling is the play. That makes a lot more sense. Bishop takes this free pawn, and Hikaru looks to take this pawn. I can kind of see the idea, damaging this pawn structure, because as a duo it is so scary, like we just spoke about. But now, after Magnus castles, not Magnus Carlsen, after he castles and brings his other rook over, like, how the hell are you holding on to this position? Like, it looks terrifying. Bishop comes out to attack this rook. Rook just slides in front of the queen. Bishop slides back. So Hikaru pulling out all the best defensive maneuvers he can in this position, after unfortunately taking the knight on a4. Get a shuffle of pieces, pawns are pushing, knight shuffles back, bishop goes to a more optimal square, knight now jumps forwards, which can just easily be taken by this bishop, queen takes back, pawns now lashing out, we get another trade. I mean, look at this battery from Magnus Carlsen. What the hell does one do in this situation? If this is me, right, playing against Magnus, I mean, obviously I would never have put myself in this situation. Magnus would already be done, but just say I had the white pieces here. Instead of playing my next move, do you know what I'd do? I would slowly maneuver myself under the table and start crying my eyes out. That would be the play. That's the only plan. Queen goes over to e3. Queen slides over to b7. So it's just a double rook stack of just hell that you don't even want to deal with. Hikaru brings his other rook to the centre, but it's too little too late. h6, f4, queen to b3, and Magnus is now in there like swimwear. Rook to d3 is played. Magnus plays rook to c4, really important, because otherwise, I don't know, let's just say you play a random move like this. There's ideas of playing here at some point. Okay, clearly not here, the engine hates it, because you just take with check. But you guys get the idea of at some point playing this, maybe after your king has moved over, to put pressure on the queen, to put pressure on this bishop. But clearly, the engine absolutely hates me. So the rook moves to c4, king now steps out the way, pawn push, queen push. I mean, this is just so unpleasant, isn't it? Takes with check, king moves over, rook steps up. Oh my god, Magnus doesn't even take this. Doesn't even take this. He just steps his rook up. A little bit of an intermezzo, attacking the queen first. Queen steps back, rook shuffles over. Oh my god, we get a trade of rooks. Queen gives a check. King slides over to e1. Queen takes on h2. Queen goes to e5. Rook to c6. Bishop back. And in this position, Hikaru Nakamura resigned. And that's because, like, you're losing all your pieces here. Let's say Hikaru plays g4, okay? Well, you give a check, you give a check, you give a check. King, I don't know where you even go. Let's say you go, no, you don't go there because that's mate. Let's say you block with rook e2. Well, then you just take, and these trades, you're just losing, okay? So let's say instead of playing the move I just suggested of g4, let's say you want to look after this bishop. Let's say you go bishop f8. Well, now there's the move, what is it, rook to g6, so putting pressure down this side of the board. And top engine move is to take, and then there's the move queen e4. What? Look at this line. Look at this disgusting line. Like, there is nothing you can do. Like, what the heck? I was just reading that, like, mind blown. There is actually... How do they calculate all this? These guys are absolute chess geniuses. Like, after queen b2, I'd be like, right, what's my plan now? I wouldn't think, oh, my bishop's dead no matter what. There is nothing I can do to hold on to this bishop. Insane game. Magnus Carlsen picks up 3rd place, which means there's one more game to go through, guys. Hans Niemann, Levon Aronian also drew their first game, which was a wild game. The end game was completely drawn, and then Levon blundered. And Hans Niemann found 3 of the best moves to win the game, and then blundered as well. And it was like, what the hell were you even setting up? And then when they spoke about it after the game, Levon was like, you were completely winning. You won the game, and you threw it away. And Hans was like, when? Where? I didn't see that. No, I didn't. You had 2 pawns. And they were like arguing on the table, like, no, get out my head, leave me alone. All comes down to this. Hans Niemann, Levon Aronian, whoever wins this game is the freestyle chess Grand Slam champion. d4, d5, c4, Hans takes Levon's c-pawn, queen takes back, f6, queen c3, and I want you just to look at the clocks. Okay, so they start with 30 minutes. They get 30 seconds bonus time for every move they make. So currently, I mean, there's no real outliers. Levon sat on 32 minutes. Hans Niemann sat on 30 minutes. So he's invested a little bit more time than Levon, but nothing noticeable so far. I mean, it's all pretty standard stuff anyway. Like, it's very difficult with black to prepare for white in freestyle chess. So it's natural that black goes lower on the clock early game and then maybe claws it back a little later on. Hans plays c6 and spends 12 minutes on the move. And on the commentary, they didn't understand why Hans took so long. I mean, you had the likes of David Howe, one of the best English grandmasters there is. You had like Vidit jumping in and out of commentary, like, what is going on? Hans, make a move. What? Even when in the confessional booth, which was brilliant. Yeah, he spends 12 minutes on c6. And now, Levon Aronian, sat in the grand final, is up 13 minutes on the clock after 4 moves. And it's like, you only get half an hour. You can't just use 12 minutes on move 4 for such a basic looking move anyway. Like, you open up your dark square bishop, you clamp down on this d5 square. Like, it's such a basic idea. Like, even me, like the internet's biggest chess moron, understands the idea behind c6, and 12 minutes, it's too much time, Matt. It's too much time. Knight jumps forward to d3. We get knight e6, f3, knight d6. Hans is spending so much time on these moves. He needs to be just blitzing them out. a4 is played, looking to lash out on this queen side of the board. Bishop to f7, bishop to f2. So it's all looking like somewhat symmetrical so far. Short castles, knight jumps forward to d2, and we get the move rook to d8. So on this semi-open file. But again, look at the time, man. That's the real focus point of this game. Like, the eval bar might say this position's absolutely fine, but the eval bar is not factoring the fact that Levon is 12 minutes up on the clock after 9 moves. Like, it's nothing. We get short castles, and again, Hans spends 2.5 minutes on the move h5. That cannot happen. He's already down so much time. Like, Levon basically has what he started with, and Hans has lost 20 minutes. What the hell? Like, if Hans somehow holds on in this game, I will... No, I'm not going to say that, actually, because, you know what? Never mind. We're going to move on. e4 is played, so Levon just striking out in the centre completely. A big point early on was Hans putting this knight in front of this pawn, whereas Levon obviously got both pawns out, and then has the knights behind them, which tends to be a very typical theme in freestyle chess, where there's not much theory, is get the pawns pushed forwards, get the knights behind the pawns, but this pawn is sort of blocked, so can't really strike back in the centre. a6 is played. Now, I don't understand why not a5. Is that a little bit better? Yeah, the engine much prefers a5. Basically just clamping down on this b4 square, because it's very clear that the knight wants to reroute over to this b4 square. It looks like much more optimal for it. But instead of that, Hans just plays a6. I don't understand the idea. Maybe to try and make some sort of strike on this side of the board. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Rook goes to e1. Bishop to a7, we get knight b3. So yeah, the knight's rerouting over this way. And now we finally get b5 from Hans, looking to strike, takes the pawn. This is a really, quite a nice find from Hans. Given the fact that he only has 7 minutes, you don't want to spend too long on any move. Hans' knight is being attacked, but, danger levels in chess, takes the pawn to attack Levon's knight. We get takes. Levon picks up the pawn, attacking the rook. And this is actually a really big mistake, and the reason for it is actually because of this move knight to b4, threatening this pawn. If the rook, let's say, went to d7, then when the knight jumps over, Hans has his own pressure on this pawn here, so isn't just going to be completely down a pawn. So it's really minute things like this that, if Hans had more time on his clock, of course he finds the move rook d7. He is one of the strongest players in the world currently, not just in freestyle, in classical, in rapid, he is so good. So none of this is a knock on Hans, because I am an absolute idiot. But the time management was so bad, and that's why he unfortunately makes the mistake of rook to e8. Now there's not enough pressure on this pawn, and so when this move knight to b4 is played, Hans has no counterplay, because this pawn is just going to drop, and you can't win a pawn back. So takes, with just immense pressure on the rook, on the bishop. This is just unbelievable from Levon. This was a real clinic in chess. You can actually just take this. Obviously just take this bishop, giving up your queen, because then you just win it back. And how would you take back with this one? Obviously, because it's hanging. And this position is still just completely winning for Levon. But Levon is a much more cultured man. He has so much time on his clock. There is no need to rush into any sort of trades. He likes to keep the tension in positions, so he plays this move d5, just locking this knight in place. It's just such a gorgeous move, man. The knight jumps out. We get a rook trade, and now Levon is up 2 points of material, because he has in fact taken Hans' rook for a knight. Queen takes queen, so all these trades not benefiting Hans at all. When you're down material, even at a beginner level, you want to keep as many pieces on the board as possible. Keep the tension in the position. But now, there's just so much going on. Hans cannot hold this position, surely. Knight takes the pawn. Oh my god. When Levon found this move, I actually almost shed a tear for how beautiful it is. This is such a gorgeous move. Obviously it's given a brilliant, because you're just leaving your rook hanging. But let's say you were to take, for example, you take here, and now it's a rook and bishop versus knight and bishop, and it's just completely winning. But that's not even the main idea of this move. It gets better. It gets so much better. So Hans plays this move f5, and the eval bar absolutely despises it. As you can see, it's really creeping up for Levon. And here Levon plays another brilliant move. He found back-to-back brilliant moves. If he's not deserving champion, I don't know who would be. You can take this bishop. And you might be thinking, why, how, what, how can you take this bishop? You can actually sack your rook, and Levon finds it. Because if the king were to take, the bishop takes knight with check, and then you pick up the rook as well. So obviously Hans doesn't take. He takes this bishop, and then Levon plays rook to b7, and now it's 2 rooks versus a rook and a knight. Oh my god. Hans is pushing his pawns though. It's not over yet. Really important that Levon played king e1 here, because let's say, I don't know, you play king e2 looking to just win this pawn back. Well then Hans, oh my god, it wants rook e8. That makes so much more sense, because now, oh my god. And then it wants king e1, and then you take this pawn. No? What? Because of this. And then there's a lot of pressure. Okay, that makes sense. But it was completely drawing unless Levon went king e1. Clearly I am too novice to understand why. Knight jumps to f4. This pawn goes to g3, so we get knight to d3 check. And king e2 is another great move. b2 is played, so again, just danger levels. If you take, then in fact Hans makes a queen and wins the game. So really important that you don't just get gung-ho greedy and take. Hans is down to 40 seconds, by the way. Levon has over 16 minutes. It's not even going to be close here. Look, he's just going to pick up the pawn now and just go on and convert this game. This is going to be the easiest conversion of Levon's game, and in this position, Hans Niemann resigns. Because, like, what do you do? Like, what do you do? Like, if you jump back here, like, king goes to c2 and you eventually win this pawn, and there's just nothing. Like, the pawn getting to the second rank was Hans' only hope, and there's just nothing. So, Levon Aronian, what a tournament. He beats Magnus, he beats Hikaru, he beats Hans Niemann. What a tournament this man has had. He has really burst back onto the chess scene, because for a little while now, he's not been hitting that top level that we know he's capable of. So, just an absolutely statement win. Couldn't be happier for the guy. Picks up a win in Las Vegas. Guys, if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.